Good morning, students. Let us continue with the lesson. Lesson number 2, Forest and Wildlife Resources. Till now, we have learnt about the importance of forest and wildlife resources. Right? Today, in this video, we are going to cover a few more topics. I hope you all are ready with your books and pen. So, let's start. Factors responsible for decline in India's biodiversity. Now here are few factors which are responsible for decline in India's biodiversity. So let's see the factors. Habitat destruction, hunting, poaching. Poaching means illegal hunting and capturing animals, overexploitation of resources, environmental pollution, and forest fires. So these are the factors which are responsible for decline in India's biodiversity. You need to remember all these points, students. Once again, habitat destruction, hunting, poaching, overexploitation of resources, environmental pollution, and forest fires. Here is the image of hunting and forest fires. Unequal access, inequitable consumption of resources, and differential sharing of responsibility for environmental well-being are also the reasons for environmental destruction. So what do you mean by inequitable consumption of resources? The resources are not consumed equally. Okay, for example, an average American consumes 40 times more resources than an average Somalian. So it's very clear, students, an average American consumes 40 times more resources than an average Somalian. So see the difference here. Okay, so it's very clear about the inequitable consumption of resources. The richest 5% of Indian society probably cause more ecological damage because of the amount they consume than the poorest 25%. So here also you can see the richest 5% of Indian society. They consume more resources than the poorest 25%. Okay, so unequal access, it's not accessed equally by all, and inequitable consumption of resources and differential sharing of responsibility for environmental well-being. These all are the causes for the environmental destruction. I hope it is clear. The destruction of forest and wildlife is not just a biological issue. So when we see the destruction of forest and wildlife, we think it's just biological issue, but certainly it's not. It's not just a biological issue. The biological loss is strongly correlated with the loss of cultural diversity. So the biological loss is correlated, it is connected with the loss of cultural diversity too. The forest dependent communities, okay, the people who live in forest, especially the tribes, who directly depend on various components of the forest and wildlife. For example, food, drink, medicine, culture, etc. Even they are affected because they are dependent on the forest. They are dependent on forest for their livelihood. So of course it will affect the people, those who are dependent on the forest, that is forest dependent communities. Okay. Next is the social effect of resource depletion. In many societies, women bear the major responsibility of collection of fuel, fodder, water, and other basic subsistence needs. Students, I want to ask one question. Who suffer a lot? Men or women? Yes, it's women. Why? Because if you see in many societies, most of the societies, women bear the major responsibility of collection of fuel, fodder, water, and other basic subsistence needs. Right? You can see the image over here, student. As these resources are depleted, the drudgery of women increases, and sometimes they have to walk for more than 100 kilometers to collect these resources. So what happens if the resources are depleted? The women, they need to work more hard. They need to work hard. Okay, because they need to walk for more than 10 kilometers to collect the requirements, to collect the resources. Is that clear, students? So who is affected? Yes, it's women. Once again, students, in many societies, women bear the major responsibility of collection of fuel, fodder, water and other basic subsistence needs that is used for their survival. As these resources are depleted, the drudgery of women, that is a menial labor, okay, they need to work more hard, and sometimes they have to walk for more than 10 kilometers to collect these resources. This causes serious health problems for women. Okay, so walking 10 kilometers to collect the resources, it affects their health. And negligence of home and children. They are not able to take care of their home and their children. Why? Because of the increased hours of work, right? Which often has serious social implications. So women, they suffer a lot due to environmental destruction. The indirect impact of degradation, such as severe drought or deforestation, induced floods, also hits the poor the hardest. Here is the image of drought, you can see, and the flood. So the indirect impact of degradation, such as severe drought or deforestation, induced floods, etc., also hits the poor the hardest. So who are the sufferers again? The poor people. Poverty in these cases is a direct outcome of environmental destruction. So what's the direct outcome of environmental destruction? Yes, it's poverty. People become poorer and poorer due to the environmental destruction. I hope I'm clear. Let's proceed further. Here is a question. Why do we need to conserve our forest and wildlife? Okay, it's a very good question. And we need to know the answer for this. So let's try to find out the answer. Conservation preserves the ecological diversity. Isn't it, students? Conservation preserves the ecological diversity and our life support systems. Already I had explained you about the life support systems. Can you recall? Yes, it's water, air and soil, without which we cannot survive. It also preserves the genetic diversity of plants and animals for better growth of species and breeding. So not only conservation will preserve the ecological diversity and our life support system, but also it preserves the genetic diversity of plants and animals for their better growth and breeding. I hope you all have understood. Conservation of forest and wildlife in India. The Indian Wildlife Protection Act was implemented in 1972. You need to remember this year, students, 1972. The Indian Wildlife Protection Act was implemented in 1972. Let's see the aims of this. Okay, the aim of the program was towards protecting the remaining population of certain endangered species. Students, we have already learnt about the endangered species, right? Those who are on the verge of extinction. So, what's the aim of the Indian Wildlife Protection Act? Yes, the aim of the program was towards protecting the remaining population of certain endangered species by banning hunting, giving legal protection to their habitats and restricting trade in wildlife. So how we can do this? How we can protect the remaining population of certain endangered species? Yes, by banning hunting, giving legal protection to their habitats and restricting trade in wildlife. I hope it's clear, students. Central and many state governments established national parks and wildlife sanctuaries. Students, do you know why Did central and state government establish national parks and wildlife sanctuaries? Yes, to protect the animals. Their hunting is prohibited. Okay. The central government also announced several projects for protecting specific animals which were gravely threatened, like tiger, one-horned rhinoceros, the Kashmir stag or hangul, 3 types of crocodiles: freshwater crocodile, saltwater crocodile, and the gharial, the Asiatic lion, and others. Okay, so various projects were announced by the central government for protecting specific animals which were gravely threatened. Okay, most recently, the Indian elephant, black buck, the great Indian bustard, and the snow leopard, etc., have been given full or partial legal protection against hunting and trade throughout India. So recently, the Indian elephant, black buck, great Indian bustard, snow leopard, these species, they have been given full or partial legal protection against hunting or trade throughout India. Here is the image of one-horned rhinoceros, Kashmir stag or hangul, gharial, great Indian bustard, snow leopard. Okay, in 1973, the authorities realized that the tiger population had dwindled. Dwindle means reduced to 1,827 from an estimated 55,000 at the turn of the century. So you can imagine, students, the decrease in the population of tiger. It was 55,000 at the turn of the century, wherein it had dwindled. It had reduced to 1,827. Students, do you know what do you mean by at the turn of the century? It's the time wherein one century ends and the other starts, or the another starts. Now let's see the major threats to tiger population: poaching for trade, shrinking habitat, depletion of prey-based species, growing human population. So these all are the major threats to tiger population. Once again, poaching for trade, shrinking habitat, is their home, right? Okay, depletion of prey-based species. For example, for tiger, deer is its prey. If there is decrease in the population of deer, how the tiger will survive? So depletion of prey-based species, growing human population. Students, you all know, when there is increase in the population, they start clearing the forest for construction of buildings, roads, etc. To fulfill their needs, they clear the forest. So poaching for trade, shrinking habitat, depletion of prey-based species, growing human population. Not only these, there are few other major threats also. Let's see. The trade of tiger skins and the use of their bones in traditional medicines. Okay, so these all are the threats to tiger population. So I hope it's clear, students. Asian countries, you can see the tiger population is on the verge of extinction. Since India and Nepal provide habitat to about 2/3 of the surviving tiger population in the world, these two nations became prime targets for poaching and illegal trading. Students, you need to understand this. Since India and Nepal provide habitat to about 2/3 of the surviving tiger population in the world, these two nations have become the prime targets for poaching as well as illegal trading. Project Tiger was launched in 1973. So Project Tiger, for what purpose it was launched? Yes, to protect the tigers. Project Tiger was launched in 1973. You need to remember the year. Initially it showed success as the tiger population went up to 4,002 in 1985. and 4,334 in 1989. So initially it showed success as the tiger population started increasing, that is up to 4,002 in 1985 and 4,334 in 1989. But in 1993, the population of the tiger had dropped to 3,600. Okay, there were 39 tiger reserves in India, covering an area of 32,137.14 square kilometer. Even this figure you need to remember, students. There were 39 tiger reserves in India, covering an area of 32,137.14 square kilometer. Here is the image of Corbett National Park, students. This is the image of Sundarban Tiger Reserve. Now, students, you need to pay attention, because whatever I am going to teach now, it can be asked for match the following. Okay. Corbett National Park is in Uttarakhand. You need to remember Corbett National Park, Uttarakhand. Sundarbans National Park, West Bengal. Bandhavgarh National Park, Madhya Pradesh. Sariska Wildlife Sanctuary, Rajasthan. Once again, Corbett National Park is in Uttarakhand. Sundarbans National Park in West Bengal. Bandhavgarh National Park in Madhya Pradesh, and Sariska Wildlife Sanctuary in Rajasthan. I hope you will remember. There are two more. Manas Tiger Reserve in Assam, Periyar Tiger Reserve in Kerala. Once again, Manas Tiger Reserve in Assam, Periyar Tiger Reserve in Kerala. The conservation projects are now focusing on biodiversity rather than on a few of its components. So it's very clear, students, the conservation projects are now focusing on biodiversity rather than not few of its components, and more intense search for different conservation measures going on. More intense search for different conservation measures going on. Even insects are beginning to find a place in conservation planning. Not only animals and birds, but also insects. Under Wildlife Act of 1980 and 1986, several hundred butterflies, moths, beetles, and one species of dragonfly have been added to the list of protected species. In 1991, for the first time, plants were also added to the list, starting with 6 species. So let's see the images now. Butterfly, moth, dragonfly, beetle. So students, not only animals but also several hundred butterflies, moths, beetles, and one species of dragonfly have been added to the list of protected species. Okay, this is under Wildlife Act of 1980 and 1986, and in 1991 for the first time even plants were added to the list, starting with 6 species. I hope it's clear. Now it's time to ask questions. I hope you all are ready for the quiz. Let's begin. In which year the Indian Wildlife Protection Act was implemented? Option A 1970, option B 1971, option C 1972, option D 1974. Yes, students, which one is the correct? Yes, option C 1972. So in 1972, the Indian Wildlife Protection Act was implemented. Very good, students. Let's move on to the next question. Which one of the following was launched in 1973? Yes, students. Which one of the following was launched in 1973? Option A, Project Tiger. Option B, Indian Wildlife Act. Option C, Wildlife Act. Option D, Indian Wildlife Protection Act? Yes, students. What's the correct one? Which one of the following was launched in 1973? Yes, it's option A, Project Tiger. Very good. Let's move on to the next question. Which is not a threat to tiger population in India? I'll repeat the question once again. Which is not a threat to tiger population in India? Option A, shrinking habitat. Option B, the trade of tiger skins. Option C, use of their bones in traditional medicines. Option D, Project Tiger. Yes, students, which one is not a threat to tiger population in India? Yes, you are correct. It's option D, Project Tiger. Very good, students. I hope you all have enjoyed the quiz session. Let's do the recap now, students. The topics covered today: factors responsible for decline in India's biodiversity, conservation of forest and wildlife in India, and Project Tiger. I hope you all have understood the topics covered today. Here I am going to share with you the link through which you can access the video. Okay, do watch the video and try to understand much better the topics covered today. Don't forget to read the textbook. Okay, the remaining topics we will be covering in the next video. Till then, bye and take care.